Hey guys, this is gonna be a bit different kind of video. I wanted to make like a very theme based build rather than anything else. And the theme that I'm going for is a mix between Bless Hammer from Diablo 2, which is basically a Spectral Helix in PoE, and also Fist of Heaven. And Fist of Heaven in Diablo 2, if you don't know, it's a lightning striking from the skies into enemies and shooting balls, but I'm not going for any balls. Just I wanted to combine for Bless Hammer to proc Fist of Heaven. So that's the theme that I'm going for. And I try to make this also look more like a Thor to cosplay, I guess, except not using the full Acer set. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, because if you do that, I don't know if you can see, but Templar legs are very skinny and it looks like a female's leg. So I'm not going for that set using desert body armor to cover this leg. Basically Templar needs pants. This is like I guess a Hammerdin build with a twist. And I tried this before in the past, actually around 4 years ago. I that was the first time when I tried a Hammerdin build idea. Then 3 years ago I tried another Hammerdin build idea. And back then we did not have a Spectral Helix. Back then we had Val Spectral Pro, which kind of worked like the current Spectral Helix. And it never really worked all that well, but it was a fun idea and I kind of wanted to revisit that. This is that build. This is Mjolnir with which procs Absolution. And Absolution is like that Fist of Heaven, but it also summons, let's say, Holy Army. So this is like a Hammerdin Fist of Heaven with Holy Army build. And the build actually works pretty well for clear speed, but just as I expected, it doesn't really have single target damage, because essentially Absolution minions inside Mjolnir are only on a free link. Even if I can do some decent damage, well, not decent damage, but alright damage with the procs, it's not really doing all that much damage. So I'm gonna go over how I build this, because there's not much to show. I haven't really done any endgame bosses because I know that the damage is not gonna be great and it's not meant to be. But if you're looking for a cheap build which does not need a 6 link and could be a pretty cheap and easy league starter, which does have a strong theme, then maybe this build could work. And I think this works up to like rater maps. I was doing some tier 12 maps, tier 13 maps, but I could go higher as well, and I'm sure that I would deal with bosses, but like you're not gonna be killing Conquerors or tier 16 Guardians with this, or Sirius, stuff like that. Well, maybe you would, but it's not worth it. So obviously Mjolnir is the main thing. Inside Mjolnir I have Absolution, Physical to Lighting, and Lighting Penetration. Now, Physical to Lighting is kind of a must for Absolution, because we have by default 50% conversion into lighting, both for the spells and for minions. Then to increase minion damage, obviously I'm scaling some minion, well, quite a lot of minion stuff, but also using +1 lighting skill gems amulet. So here's the thing, you kind of have to find the balance. Do you want to scale more of your damage, or do you want to scale more of minion damage? And I kind of wanted to be both, because I didn't really want to be like a pure minion build. So this is like a hybrid Blessed Hammer with Fist of Heaven's idea, and then Holy Army is like a side effect of it. But it kind of matches the theme. The body armor, I went with the Frenzy on Hate body armor because I just said it from before. Impulsa also works pretty nicely, but since minions can kill enemies and you don't have very good shocks, Impulsa doesn't work all that well. But for clear speed, if you can get enough attributes and resistances and other things, then Impulsa could be a nice thing. Now I do have Spectral Helix on a 6 link, but you don't really need it. Spectral Helix linked with faster attacks, both with quality, because I need the faster attack speed to make it feel a bit smoother. Faster projectiles feels like almost a must for Spectral Helix, unless you can get faster projectiles on jewels. Then Culling Strike, just a bit of extra. Life Gear and Hit, again a bit of more survivability. And Inspiration to lower the mana cost a bit more, and to give a bit more crit chance. The helmet, nearby enemies minus 9 lighting resistance. This is Bone Helmet. This is not expensive because it's not item level 86. One of the rings is Conductivity on hit. I did need quite a bit of accuracy, so I'm also getting accuracy. another ring with accuracy and strength and life, because Mjolnir does require quite a bit of strength. You could use actually a timeless jewel to ignore attribute requirements, but also strength, dex and int does not grant you anything basically, so you do lose quite a lot of life, mana and accuracy. That would be like a start for it, but once you get other items to get enough strength and int and dex, then you can replace that timeless jewel. The shield, I had it from before, just gives a lot of damage. Resistances is just massively overcapped. But this one, 1% increased damage per 1% block attack damage. So the shield could be different. Of course, you could also go for +1 shield, +1 lighting shield. Can you even get +2? Maybe you cannot. Which would also increase minion damage more. And probably would be consistent, but I don't really want to invest into this build that much, and I'm already bored of this build. This was just like a quick nostalgic project and that's it. Boots, nothing special. I tried getting cooldown recovery speed on belt. I also wanted to get on boots, but I don't really think that it's gonna make a big difference. So it doesn't really matter. As long as you get enough strength, intelligence and dexterity and of course accuracy and resistances and life and damage. Basically, once you get everything, then the build works. You also do want quite a lot of accuracy, and attack speed is pretty important for Spectral Helix because it's pretty slow. The weapon is pretty slow. You could get corrupted Mjolnir, but like, do you really want to invest that much? It's not gonna perform all that well in the end. Why Spectral Helix? Again, Blessed Hammer, but also it is working very well for proccing Mjolnir because it can hit multiple times. And for clear speed, it absolutely caps the maximum proc rate. On a single target, it also seems to be pretty alright because it spins around and hits the same target again, so it still hits multiple times. I am using also Rumi's Concoction to get a bit more block. The other stuff that I have is Anomalous Summon Holy Relic. Anomalous just to have more life for them. They are pretty squishy, sadly. And I do have pretty good region because I also have Stone Golem. Both are linked with Feeding Frenzy and Elemental Army. Elemental Army basically applies lightning exposure. And this build, by the way, is using Elemental Equilibrium. So I needed some fire or cold damage to my Spectral Helix to proc Elemental Equilibrium, because I think it synergizes pretty well because my damage doesn't really do all that much. And every time I hit with Mjolnir, I proc Elemental Equilibrium, which increases the lower enemy lightning resistance, and then immediately Absolution strikes them with lightning damage. So I think it synergizes pretty well. Then I also got Zealotry, and then Herald of Purity linked with physical to lighting and rootless support. Then I also got Leap Slam with faster attacks and Fortify, and Convocation, I barely use it. And lastly, Armageddon Brand linked with increased critical strike chance and Arcane Surge. This is mainly to proc Elemental Overload, which is not an issue while clearing and using like Spectral Helix and then the spells proccing. You're gonna crit once in a while and it's gonna be enough to sustain it. But for single target, you may want to drop Armageddon Brand, because you cannot use Storm Brand because it is lighting and you don't want lighting. So you also need to make sure you don't have any flat lighting damage to spells or to attacks. And then the passive skill tree. There you go, passive skill tree. This is Guardian. Going for the Radiant Crusade and then the Unwavering Crusade. This one doesn't do all that much. I mean, gives some minions AoE, but the minion AoE seems pretty bad, at least for Absolution. The Holy Relic AoE is pretty damn good. Do have a large minion cluster jewel. Basically, the notables on large cluster jewel are not really important. We're not really adding anything. Instead, you want something like this. 35 increased effect of the small passives, and whatever else you can get, like increased damage to you, strength maybe, resistances, and then you can get a lot out of these. Each of these give 13% increased minion damage and another 2% increased damage for me, and then resistances and 10 strength on each of these. So it makes it pretty easy to get enough strength and intelligence. And then I also got Enduring Composure to just generate endurance charges. And I could get these free. I could also get a bit more life if I need. But like I said, the build is not really all that great. It's not performing all that well in high tier maps. But if you only want to farm like mid tier maps, up to tier 12 maybe, 13, 14, probably wouldn't go past 14, then the build works fine. It does feel pretty squishy still, and it's one of those PoE issues. If you do get hit, it just feels bad. So you want to just not get hit. But I didn't really want to invest too much into block because I wanted damage. But you could also get a bit more block. Like I did get these block nodes for the spell block. I can get a bit more spell block here. On the jewels, a bit of accuracy, then normal jewels. Then Fortress Covenant just gives a lot of minion damage, which is a bit expensive, like 50k or something like that. I do have Watch Outside for zealotry. Consecrated ground you create while affected by zealotry causes enemies to take 9% increased damage, which affects your minion damage essentially as well. And thing like this is cheap, like 20k at this point. Also, minions seem to be pretty squishy, so if you want to level this more into high tier maps, you're probably gonna have to pick up these nodes to make minions a bit tankier as well. Or you could also take glancing blows if you want more block. If you also get percentage life recover on block, then you would definitely want glancing blows, and it may feel tankier, but you probably would lose some damage. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this little fun nostalgic build. I'm not sure about the next build. I am actually a bit sick. Hopefully nothing too bad. And I'm kind of almost burnt out on PoE. I still got like two interesting build ideas. One is kind of a reflect molten shell build, and another one possibly cool rain with the storm rain. So after those two, I'll probably slow down with PoE or maybe just quit until the next league, because this league is already stale. So for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.